Hello and welcome! Just 1 week ago, these drivers had to navigate the twists and turns of a tricky Donington Park circuit in England. For those drivers who weren't a fan though, things just got even twistier and tighter today. Here at Brands Hatch, hello everyone, welcome to GSRC's live coverage of a season finale of a Weekend Warriors presented by Sim Stickers. I'm Samuel Ryman, and with me in the booth is Nicholas Schmeg. Behind the scenes doing all of the button pushing is our direct arm Jed Yarmin, and he's using camera sets provided by Dougie Beard. Nick, these Spec Racer 4 cars are not always the most stable of machines on the iRacing service, and that could spell trouble for a few drivers here today at this historic British circuit.
Absolutely it could, Sam. What started as a 3/4-mile dirt track for motorcycles in the 1920s has evolved into the historic track we know and love today as Brands Hatch. We're here in Kent, England, about 30 miles southeast of London today, just like Formula One was from 1960 to 1986. This track has even hosted 2 IndyCar events. Brands Hatch is comprised of 9 turns and 2.3 miles, or about 3.7 kilometers. With these Spec Racer Fords today, like you said, they are so reliant on weight shifting, which means these hilly, fast turns are sure to present quite the entertaining challenge. To get a better look, as always, let's send you down now to the track for the GSRC lap guide.
Alright, we're in the GSRC SRF, so let's do a lap around Brands Hatch. Coming up to Paddock Hill Bend, it's very tough to hit this apex with the curved braking and blind rise. But the danger isn't over, because once the car compresses at the bottom of the hill, there's a real risk of it bottoming out and causing you to lose control. Up next is Druids, which is one of the few opportunities to outbrake someone. Unfortunately, it's still got an incredibly short braking zone, despite being a hairpin. From out of there, you'll switch sides to try and line up the car for Graham Hill Bend. The AstroTurf on the exit is fair game, so carry your speed out of there to help your lap times. You'll get a short breather before Surtees, which presents some unique challenges. It's another curved braking zone, but it's also got a late apex with a curb you want to avoid hitting too hard. And on top of all that, the exit is a super steep climb that needs as much of your momentum as possible so that you're not left vulnerable over Pilgrim's Drop. This is the longest straight of the track, and your competitors will be eager to swing past you if you're slow. But just to complicate things, Hawthorne, which is at the end of this backstretch, has very little braking, so there's not much of a chance to outbrake someone. Now we've hit the back half of the course, where it's narrow, fast, and punishing. Westfield is all about just clipping that apex and making sure not to wash out too wide. You'll fly down through Dingledale, and then Sheen is another bend that needs the utmost precision. Too far in either direction, or simply too much speed, and this corner can end your day quickly. You get very little time before you're attacking Sterling's, and this time you do want to get greedy on the inside curbing, so use that banking to your advantage. Finally, you'll get to relax again for a brief moment on the trip to Clearways. There's another little rise that tends to make the car understeer if you don't tuck it right into the racing groove. As you come off of there, straighten out the curve in the Brabham Straight to try and gain those last few hundredths. But hopefully, you've kept it all together and have now finished a lap around Brands Hatch.
This circuit certainly has a lot of ups and downs. Just like life. Life can bring challenges for men in the modern world. Don't let it get you down. Talk to someone. Support for Guys wants to listen and wants to help you realize the potential of a happy life. Their goal is to help you find new ways to cope with life's ups and downs, and the approach is simple. Find what works for you and support that new path for a better tomorrow. A counsellor is waiting to listen. Visit their website at supportforguys.com. You don't have to be local, just visit supportforguys.com and you can find that happy life you've been looking for. One driver who might be pretty happy out there on track right now is Iro Nom. He's got a couple of tenths over Jonathan Madden. They're sitting provisional 1 and 2 in qualifying right now. And we have a few championships left to decide, with this being the season finale. So let's take a look first at our stand-ins for the S1 division, where Iro Nom leads by 16 points. You'd think that would mean, wow, we have a pretty close championship going on here. However, that unfortunately is not the case. Demetrius Hugh-de-Louis is not here, so it looks like a champion is pretty much given to Iro Nom here. Also, Halliburton sitting pretty safe back there in third place, a pretty significant points lead over David Stefanini and Jonathan Madden, who are battling tight there for fourth place. So Nick, let's have a look at those S2 standings.
Yeah, the S2 standings, you know, if you're not at the top of the board competing with those bigger names, the Weekend Warriors have allowed another smaller division like so many series do. So the S2 standings, Jens Nordstrom does have a 45-point lead over Todd Hansen. Adam Bradshaw and C. Love behind them, both UK drivers at their home track today, trying to fight up there and get some more points in positions. That is a really close battle. There are only 9 points, only 5 points separate second through fifth, with Bob Kern in fifth place.
And Jens Nordstrom is not here today. However, even because of that significant points lead that he has over the AM competitors, really the way the points work, with 100 points going to the race winner, and then I believe it's 90 points for second place, 85 points for third place, and then on back it kind of gets distributed evenly throughout the rest of the field, depending on the car count, of which there's 34 cars here right now. That would basically mean one of his competitors over there in the AM division would have to finish on the podium today. We haven't seen that happen a whole lot this year, although we do have a couple of good AM qualifiers out there right now. Donald Fitterer is currently sitting in 5th place in qualifying with a few minutes left. And also Adam Bradshaw, one driver who could steal that AM championship, is qualified back in 11th. Again, we think he'd need to finish up there in the top 3 to have a chance of taking that championship away, and that would depend on a lot of chaos breaking out in front of him. Here's the thing, Nick. This is a track where you can count on a lot of chaos breaking out.
Oh, indeed you can, absolutely. I mean, not only is this track normally home to a lot of chaotic starts and even the mid-race segments, but also we have the Spec Racer 4s today, which are very fun cars, but as I mentioned earlier in the track description, very weight shifty. And this track is all about those elevation changes that go over these rolling hills and those vast corners, and that's not normally a good combination for cars and tracks, but I don't have to drive today, you know? It's gonna be fun to watch from up here.
Yeah, let's give our viewers a better idea of exactly what these drivers are up against with our race details. And what you will see when we pull the numbers up here is these drivers will have to make one stop because they're limited to a 35% fuel load, and a 40-minute time race means they're all going to have to pit once. They can't get to the end on fuel. And there you go, a little description of points format, how the top 3 get a fixed number of points, and then everyone else depends on the amount of cars. If you get 10 incident points, you will lose 10 points. Now, I know people are liberal at abusing the track limits during practice. You know, you want to find where those track limits are. But I want to point out, Nick, that only about 6 of our 34 drivers in practice did not have more than 10 incident points during practice. So that is something these guys are going to have to keep an eye on during this race.
Well, of course, you know, as any series, any race car driver is going to try to test all the track limits and try to find just try to maximize the speed that they can throughout every corner, and especially the corner out. You know, you look at the track right now, you see a lot of tire marks into the grass around those curbs, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot more of that today in the race.
Iro Nom remains at the top in qualifying. In fact, him and Jonathan Madden have a pretty significant gap over the rest of the field. You see 0.8 of a second. Stephen Nelson, currently sitting in third, is back of Iro Nom, who's still out there trying to improve his lap time, doing what we've been seeing him do in qualifying all season long, and that is use draft and help of his teammates to try and pick up a pace. And in fact, that gives Jonathan Madden a couple extra attempts, and the number 6 goes to P1.
Yeah, it's also the first lap time we've seen under the 138 mark. That's a 137.917 on that one.
But there you just saw, once they cross the finish line, the dangers of working with your teammate at such a tricky racetrack. If they make a mistake in front of you, there's not a whole lot of options you're going to have. And it's not that there's not space to run off, Nick. It's just a matter of balance. Some of these turns are so hard to get right when everything's going well. If a driver in front of you screws up, yeah, sure, there might be a lot of runoff area, but it's hard to drive your car other than where you were intending to go. You know, you're shifting the weight to try and turn left or right to avoid the spinning car in front of you, and the tires might say, nope, not having any of that.
Yeah, and the reaction times in these cars, you can't be. I mean, these aren't like open-wheeled Formula cars or Indy cars where you can just flinch the wheel left or right to avoid an accident. You shift the weight and flinch the wheel left or right real quickly, you might end up. Well, you're almost definitely going to end up spinning out or collecting others. So you really got to be careful when it comes to kind of gauging where you're trying to put the car, and especially when we see these guys running side by side. Right now, they're running for the most part single file on the track, maximizing their speed. But when they are running side by side, that's going to create a whole new challenge.
And the fact that we have a 34-car field means, actually now 35-car field, Jack Hobbs recently joined the server. It means there's going to be plenty of battles and excitement for us to watch out throughout the entire race, from the front to the middle to the back of the field. And it's nice, in week 12 of the series, there's a lot of series we cover on iRacing, Nick, where, you know, we get towards the end of the season, you'll start to see the car count tail off a little bit. You know, some drivers haven't had a good season, or they know they're not going to achieve their goals, or they know they've got a handy points lead over the driver behind them. Maybe they don't like Brands Hatch that much, and they won't come out, you know, and do a race. However, the fact that 12 weeks in, we still have 35 drivers signing up for this race, that's a good indication that, you know, we've got a devout field of a lot of loyal racing drivers here who want to come out, they want to have fun, they want to put on the show, they want to keep achieving the goals that they set out for themselves, and also they want to keep their momentum up and you know, learn a couple new things on the track, maybe, so that next season when they come back they can perform even better.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think a big part of the large participation is that the Weekend Warriors have provided us with the S2 category, the AM category of drivers, and that just, you know, if you're not at the top of the board in terms of speed, you always have someone to compete with, and it's really cool to see them add that category because it does create even better racing.
Yeah, Fitter currently remains 6th in the qualifying board, leading that AM category in qualifying. He's got a massive gap now back to Adam Bradshaw, who's 13th overall. But behind Adam Bradshaw, Edward Doherty, Matteo Dont, Bob Kern, C. Love, and then pretty much every driver behind him, they're all bunched up together there on the grid. So there'll be a lot of hard racing for those positions in the middle of the field for drivers who are racing for podium spots down in that AM category. Less than a minute left to go of qualifying. Jonathan Madden's 1:37.9 still stands at the top of the board. Only 2 drivers have been able to get within a second of him, Eero Nom and Steve Elson. Behind that, Antonio Rees in 4th place. He's in the low 1:39s. Only 1 driver in the 1:37s, 2 drivers in the 1:38s, several drivers in the 1:39s and the 1 minute 4 these. That's where the majority of the field is sitting.
Yeah, and that one driver up in the 137s, Jonathan Madden, he is not even that far out ahead of Eero Nom and Steven Elson. He's he's about a second ahead of Steven Elson, but only about 10th or 2 ahead of Eero Nom right now. So I would expect them to be side by side on the front row, and it'll be interesting to see what lines they take heading into first couple of turns here. It gets really hairy and tight up in there.
Stefanini just broke into the 1 minute 38 right as the clock ran out. These drivers will all have time to complete the time lap that they're on. But Elson and Stefanini, I think if they really want to try and get this race win, Nick, they've got to hit the ground running at the start of this race. Because Madden and Nom, as you mentioned, are about a second clear of the rest of the field. They're teammates, so they're going to try and work together. If you really want to break them up and slow them down, I think you've got to do it right at the drop of a green flag.
Of course, yeah, I definitely agree with that. They don't want to let them get away, basically, and they want to stop that right from the beginning, and really try to to prevent that from happening. Because if they let them get away, I don't even think a pit strategy would be enough to catch them based off of their times right now.
And you see those two running out there, still trying to get some times down. Stefanini also out on course, but I think he's actually being held up a little bit by Edward Doherty. And in come the Bushfink teammates, maybe practicing pit entry together. And that's something you're definitely going to want to practice because, as we mentioned, you will have to make a pit stop during the race. Watching Michael Shaw out here. He's qualified in the top 10 right now. As we're wrapping up qualifying, a couple more cars left across the line. I don't think we're going to see any of them disrupting that all Bushfink front row, and in fact everyone off a pace now. So let's go ahead and read out your starting grid. Jonathan Madden will be starting from pole position with Aeronomi's teammate who is outside. Stephen Elson and David Stefanini sitting third and fourth. They've got some work to do. Jason Perry and Antonio Reese are in row number 3. And then our first S2 driver is Donald Fitera, who got bumped back to 7th position. Michael Shaw will be starting from 8th place ahead of Jerry McAreevy and Louise Emberton.
And behind them, we're going to have row number 6. It's going to be Kip Stevens in the 5, Adam Bradshaw in the 205 in that AM category. We were talking about him trying to gain some more positions in the point standings. Behind them, Chris Murakami and Stevie Ray. Daniel Sadro running at your top 15. Just a couple of hundredths of seconds behind them, Matthias Magnussen in the 20 car, followed by Edward Doherty and Matthew DeHaan. Those are 2 AM drivers as well. And Fred Dassault and Bob Kern rounding out your top 20.
Yeah, for those of you wondering how we recognise the AM drivers, they're the drivers with the 200 numbers, and you see a lot of them here on page number 3. C. Love in 21st, Mike Geehan at 22nd, behind them Paul Godden and Ross Nicholson. Esanumi will be starting 23rd, and then Edgar Sancinelli behind him. Jeff Jacobson and Gary Walbot 27th and 28th, Jeff Cantor 29th. Our only S1 driver on the page, Richard Franco, starting back in 30th.
And then the top 35 of the whole field is going to round out with Ian Wilson, Mio Horaski, Wayne Palmer in the 277th, and Kane Halliburton going to have to make his way up through. He's the last one to set a qualifying time. Then 2 of them that didn't set a qualifying time, Jack Hobbs and Keith Walsh.
And they're both in the session though, so hopefully they'll get good up. And I think someone else just joined the session, so we might have 37 cars taking the green. And driver just joined though, we'll need to hurry up because there's only about a minute left of gridding, although then we do get a pace lap around this full Brands Hatch circuit. So I was saying that the drivers on row 2 would be thinking about trying to take a lead at the start. Stephen Elson and David Stefanini. Maybe Elson will be, but Stefanini said, and I quote in the iRacing chat, 4th, oh my god, I can't stay on track. So that's got to be a bit concerning to everyone starting 5th on backneck.
Well, maybe, and I hope that's just a little bit of self-doubt there. I hope he's not actually... he's obviously not too bad if he can start 4th out of a group of the 34 that set qualifying times. Yeah, he's just got to be confident enough to get up there and challenge with Madden and Nam. I think he can do it. I mean, he's not too far off the pace. He's only about a second, and that's in qualifying. You never know how different your qualifying trim will be from your race trim in any car, including the Spec Racer Ford. So, you know, as much as I'd like to hope that's just a joke from Stefanini there, I'm sure that raised some eyebrows of the other drivers around him.
Well, these drivers all do get 1 free repair. Obviously, they hope not to use it, because if you come in for an unscheduled pit stop, it might be out of your pit window, and then you'll have to come down pit road twice. That's not going to do you any favours. The other thing that we should report, Nick, that might be concerning for not only Stefanini, but Reese, Shaw, Emerton, Bradshaw, Ray, Magnussen, basically everyone starting on the outside line, is marbles and dust get carried over from session to session. There is no virtual cleaning of a racetrack between sessions. these drivers have just had a 1-hour practice session, a 20-minute qualifying session, and there's going to be a lot of marbles and dust off of a racing line there in turn 1. So all those drivers starting on the outside who are going to be, you know, kind of out there where all the marbles get pushed off on the exit turn 1, that could be a bit of an issue on those cold tires.
Yeah, there's been virtually no side-by-side racing in practice and qualifying. These guys have all been running just their best laps they can. It's an all-new ball game once you put them all double file on a start like that.
And pace car leading them around. This is the back end of the circuit here, going through the trees, and then they make a right and a left. Then they head back out of all of these bushes and shrubs and trees, back out into the grandstand area. Where if you've ever done a race on a shortened Indy configuration here at Brands Hatch, it's real nice for spectators in real life. The way the track kind of sits in a bowl in front of the grandstands allows you, as a fan, to see the entire racetrack, which is pretty nice at a road course. In comes the pace car. Madden has control of the field. 40 minutes of racing for the season finale starts right now. They are on the loud pedal. For those about to race, we salute you, because this is going to be tricky getting through this first turn side by side. Madden with Nom on the outside and Steve Elson thinking about trying to take second. The leaders get through this turn 1 cleanly, but as they go down the dip and back up into the field, will they all get through this hairpin okay?
Keep an eye on that outside lane like you were talking about. This is still not an ideal part of the track for them to be on. It looks pretty clean so far, though.
Back down the hill, and that's not grass they're using on the exit there. There's a lot. Oh, big
trouble behind them.
It spins off a racing line. That was Adam Bradshaw and another driver, but fortunately it didn't collect a whole lot of other drivers towards the back. So Madden leads. Nom, Elson, Perry has moved up by Stefanini for 4th place, but bad news for every driver third on back is that Madden and Nom are already starting to pull out a bit of a gap ahead of the rest of the field.
Yeah, and I don't expect Nom to push the issue too much. I think they're going to work together, try to break away from this pack, and if their race times here in the first couple of laps reflect at all their qualifying times, they're definitely going to be able to do that.
Couple of drivers putting wheels in the grass through the back end part of a circuit. The apexes there are very hard to see. A lot of blind corners through that section as leaders come across to complete lap 1 with Madden leading Nom. Alright, let's see what happened on lap 1 down at turn number 4. Since, well, first we'll start all the way at the top of a hill. Bradshaw spun, and I know that Love is out of a race. I wonder if he got a piece of this.
Just kind of the nature of what happens when you put all these cars on the track. It's a track that's the tightest part of the track, probably. And, you know, with these cars, you don't want to flick them around too much, because that'll really cause some issues, and some people reacting there. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, Love was involved in quite a bit of argy-bargy there. See him started much earlier than turn 4 for him.
They were just about going 4 wide back there at the start.
4 into 1 didn't work. Riding on board Numi here to get his perspective. Nowhere to go in front of him. And the drivers in front of him didn't have anywhere to go either. Back live, another driver on the second lap who has ran into a bit of trouble. Michael Shaw had a big moment exiting the first corner. He's back out on track. He's got a bit of front end damage. He's lost multiple positions though. And Reese is off. Antonio Reese, one of our top 10 drivers, has just spun off. And he's getting out of his car and calling it a day. Joins Love as a retirement from this race. And there you see, it was all on his own.
Yeah, it's just the that's the weight shifting we're talking about with these cars. That's exactly That's exactly what that is, and that's the worst possible scenario you can get from, well, you can showing us that weight shifting, which I don't think he wanted to learn that the hard way in that turn.
Jason Perry is being very aggressive. He wants third place from Elson. Stevie Ray is in trouble at the top of the hill. He's did it all on his own once again, seeing a lot of single car spins here early on.
Yeah.
As we come back to live, down the hill on the back straight, Jason Perry making a move for third place, takes it away from Elson. Elson's got to get defensive because Stefanini might be thinking about fourth.
Elson trying to drive it as hard as he can. He doesn't want to give that position up to Perry just yet, but at the same time, there's not much you can do. I mean, Perry's looking real strong, and that was a very well executed pass there.
McAreevy putting all four wheels off in the background, but keeps it pointing in the right direction. So, Madden continues to lead, just by a car length over his teammate Eero Nom, and they have about 2 seconds now over Jason Perry, our new third place driver. Oh, wow, Chris Murakami spins out of a final turn. He was almost heading into the pits.
Same type of incident we've seen from other people. Just got a little sideways with that weight shifting, and the more you try to correct it sometimes in these cars, the worse that it makes it. And that's unfortunate there for Murakami, who's running inside the top 10.
Seen a lot of drivers running inside the top 10 have been having difficulty. That's allowed drivers who started a bit further back to break into the top 10. Edward Doherty, one of our AM drivers, started all the way back in 17th. He's now 10th. He's second in the AM class. Donald Fatera continues to lead that run in 7th. Good battle going on for 8th place. Magnussen just got by Stevens, and the aforementioned Edward Doherty gets into the back of Stevens, gives him a little knob up a back, and Stevens has to go into the gravel. I'm sure he didn't appreciate that.
And it looks like he's going to lose another position there to Daniel Sadro.
So he falls back. Another driver who's fallen back this lap is David Stefanini. Must have had some kind of incident early on in the lap, because the left side of his 95 car is definitely scratched up. And Kane Halliburton into the pits. He towed a little moment ago, so other drivers throughout the field still struggling here in the early stages. Remember, you do get one free repair, but much like we just saw with Stefanini, if you don't have to take it yet, keep running out there. Wait for the pit window to open and then come in and get your free repair done doing your scheduled pit stop.
Yeah, really impressive run right now by Stefanini. I'm seeing him weave and wobble just a little more than the other cars. I'm sure his car is not as aerodynamically stable as the other ones. But yeah, if he can stay out there, I mean, he's running 7th with that car right now. Definitely impressive. See if he can hold off Magnussen when he catches him.
Finn's still really close for 8th place back there. Car's almost making contact at the bottom of a hill with Doherty ahead of Magnussen, Sadro, Kip Stevens. Our 3rd place driver in them, by the way, would be Matteo Dont. He's all the way back in 13th place. Kind of at the end of this pack, to be honest. This pack going from about at 9th back down to about 12th. Finn's starting to get a bit dicey for 3rd now. Steve Elson, right behind Jason Perry, is trying to take a look for 3rd place. He's got a nice run coming down the front straight.
It does look like David Stefanini did bring that car into the pits. He was avoiding getting freight trained by everyone else, and he figured at that point you might as well just bring it in and take your fast repair now. I'm assuming that's what he's going to do, and that is what he's going to do.
Yeah, we're only 10 minutes into the race. I'm not sure if he'll be able to have enough fuel to make it all the way to the end. You're not exactly full throttle for a long time around this Brands Hatch circuit. Maybe that'll be a saving grace that you don't burn a lot of fuel each lap here. Oh, trouble! No! Nice save by Ian Wilson. We've seen a few cars go around at the hairpin there today, and he almost joined them. Odris on board, quick hands here. Just trying to avoid the car in front of him, drifted to curb on the inside, kind of saved him there.
Wow. Yeah, that's impressive there. That curbing is his saving grace. If that was just grass there, I think that weight shift would have been enough to throw that car off.
10 minutes into this race, and the leader's coming around to complete lap 6. Do the math. 6 times 4 is 24, not 30. I made that mistake on Thursday night. So here Madden comes across the line to complete quarter distance. Looks like of about a 24-lap race. Oh, and Godden, hard into the wall, was running just outside the top 10. I'm pretty sure he's going to have to come in and get repairs to that one. Right now, he's got to find a gap to get back out on track here. Once again, another solo mistake.
Yeah, and then he did get back on track safely, but it caught David Stefanini off guard, who oh, it looks like Ian Wilson just had a spin.
Yeah,
right
a few cars did.
Yeah,
Jeff Jacobson as well. This involved a few cars on the final turn there. Very light contact, and the good news for the drivers that picked up damage from it is they're right there at pit entry.
Yeah, pretty convenient place to spin out. I guess no place is really convenient to spin out, but Ian Wilson and Jeff Jacobson, they're just able to steer it right into the pits, not lose too much time compared to if they were to do that halfway through the track.
Get another onboard replay there of the incident. I'll tell you what, that battle that pack at the tail end of the top 10 is still there behind Edward Doughty, who's now worked his way up into 7th overall, 2nd of the AM drivers. And in fact, the next car ahead of him is the leader of the AM drivers, Donald Fatera. However, he's about 5 seconds up the road.
Yeah, I've been keeping my eye on this pack for a while now, and these guys running, they were pressing the issue a little more than they had to, and now they've got it just kind of single-filed freight trained around this joint, and I think they're all right with that right now. Still 28 minutes left of this race, and right now they're just trying to draft together and get this train moving.
Yeah, so top 2 of the Bushwink teammates are on their own. 3rd through 5th is the pack, Perry, Elson, and Micarivi.
Oh, Doherty.
Oh, and Doughty is going to lose all those positions.
Yeah, it could have been a lot worse for him. He slid there in the first couple of turns and he gets right back into the line. Lost 4 positions there.
That's the problem when you're at the front of one of those packs and you make a mistake. There's a lot of drivers behind you ready to take advantage of it. He's still 2nd in AM though. The 3rd place driver in AM is Matteo Dont, who is still a little ways back of his pack. But behind Dont is where we come up with our 2nd big pack, being led by Michael Shaw. Lewis Emerton is in this, Bob Kern, Richard Franco, and Adam Bradshaw. They've all been trading positions around a bit.
And this is going to cycle Matthias Magnussen up to 7th, and behind him, Daniel Sadro in 9th, and or in 8th rather now. And Sadro, of all of these guys, of all of these 5 drivers here in this little pack, I think Sadro's been racing the most aggressive. He really wants to get around Magnussen, and I think he has the speed. He just hasn't quite had the room, as it looks like they're going to be side by side behind him with Kip Stevens and Fred Desai.
So we've got a couple of 5-car packs here in the top 15. And Desai makes a pass stick on Stevens. Doughty now looking down the inside of Kip Stevens and takes that position. And Adam Bradshaw, for the second time this race, has had an incident. Number 205 car hasn't had the prettiest of races. He got away the first time, Nick. I don't think he had any damage following his lap 1 incident. That time, not as fortunate.
Yeah, let's see if he saved it. I believe he saved that fast repair. I don't think he ever used that from the first incident, the way he was, or based off of the position he was running. So he might still be in this thing.
We're definitely within the pit window now as we approach a halfway point time-wise. The thing is, of course, you shouldn't expect any of your leaders to come in, because they know if they come in early, they're going to come out probably in some of these packs in the middle of a field, and that's not where they want to be. They'd much rather come out in clean racetrack. Oh, big spin for Bob Kern. He does a 720, keeps going again, but it's going to cost him a few positions. Bob Kern was one of the drivers who have been running in that second pack. And yeah, and Jason Perry has just had a moment. We'll get this on replay as well. And Perry is not as lucky. He's hit the wall in a way that has damaged his steering, and he has had to take a tow to the pits. Very unfortunate from the driver who was running in 3rd position.
Yeah, he was so fast from the start too.
That will move Stephen Nelson up into 3rd, McAreevy up into 4th.
We've also had a couple changes for position back in this pack. Sadro was at the head of that, and behind them, Fred Dessau has gotten around Magnussen, and so has Edward Doherty. So Magnussen now 4th out of 5 in line in that pack.
Remember, Doherty is trying to recover from a mistake he had a little whiles ago. And nice thing about the fast repair in this series is it means we still have a lot of the drivers who have run into the trouble still in the race. We actually have 31 of our 36 starters are still up, well actually now 30 of our 36 starters still on the lead lap. But lap traffic will start to become an issue very soon.
Looks like out of this pack, Daniel Sadro, once he got to the front of that pack, he's going to check out. He is putting on quite the gap behind him to Desai and Edward Doherty. And with Jason Perry, with his exit there, that's going to move Sadro up to 6th.
Doherty just took 7th place from Fred Desai. Magnussen 9th, Stevens in 10th. While all these guys have been scrapping, it allowed Matteo Dont to close in on them a little bit. He's still out of the drafting range, though.
Desai almost put a little tap on the back of Doherty there. He got really close. I think he may have made some slight contact. And don't forget, this whole pack has to pit still.
Let's put the... Well, no, let's keep an eye on these guys. I want to give a shout out. I just want to start speculating about the leaders a bit with Madden leading Nom around. And that's going to be saving fuel for Nom again. I wonder if Madden is going to help out his teammate again, let him win the race to win the championship, or if it's going to be reverse roles this time. Nom's going to be like, hey, I've won the championship. You gave me the win last week. You can have this one. Or if those two will just end up fighting for it. Right now, these guys are definitely fighting. There's nothing orchestrated about what's going on back here. As Magnussen makes a move on the side. It's going to pull it off by the time they get to the first corner. A very off-camber turn, and then a massive elevation change at the bottom of a hill. It's caught a lot of drivers off guard today.
And don't forget about P3, Sam, either. Steven Elson and McGravery are back here fighting. They're about 8 seconds behind Nam and Madden, and they are still very close to each other, so they might also be in this little bit of a fuel-saving strategy.
Yeah, and don't get confused if you see Jason Perry ahead of these drivers again. Jason Perry has rejoined the circuit, and he's in third on track, where he was, you know, beforehand, but he's not third in the race anymore. He's a lap behind all these guys. And that's Adam Bradshaw, more trouble there. Bradshaw's just gone a lap down, and he's already used a free repair, got more damage to his car. I wonder if we won't be seeing a whole much more of him. Boy, they're really catching some lap cars off the pace. Ian Wilson damaged too, and Bradshaw runs into back of him. I wonder if that was retaliation for something. Well, actually, no, I take that back. Wilson had slowed way down before pit entry, so I guess Bradshaw just wasn't anticipating that. Fatera coming in behind them. This is scheduled. Our AM leader coming in for a scheduled pit stop. Splitting it 50-50 as we complete lap number 12. As we mentioned, each 6 laps taking right about 10 minutes around here.
Yeah, now that we're just over halfway now, I'm wondering, when do these leaders come in, Madden and Nam and Elson and McGravery in third and fourth? Do they throw a little bit of a different strategy? I'm not sure if a pit strategy is going to be able to cut down an 8-second gap to the leaders, but it might cut it down a little bit.
Yeah, I think Madden and Nom have a field exactly where they want them. I mean, yeah, they've got to deal with some lap traffic ahead of them, but not a whole lot. It's a lot better than pitting for those guys and coming out, you know, behind one of the packs that we've seen racing for 10th place or so all race long. Coming around, they will be to complete lap number 13.
Seems as though that battle for 6th has kind of cooled down now. A little bit of a battle for, let's see, I believe that's 8th place now. Fred Desay still over Matthias Magnussen and Kip Stevens, but it looks like Doherty and Sadro have checked out of that group.
Ross Nicholson had the spin, and now Matteo Dont from 10th place has a spin. He was running all on his own though, so he hasn't lost any positions yet. Well, now Emerson and Murakami might get by him, but you shouldn't worry about those guys too much. They're pro drivers. Sorry, S1 drivers. Right on board,
Oh yeah, Magnussen just went off. And he joined the track again, but wasn't a full 360 spin, but he did have a bit of a slide there, as you see, and went into the grass, lost a couple spots there, it looks like.
Yeah, it's one of the best saves you could ever hope to have around here at Brands Hatch. So after his scare, Dont came in for his pit stop.
Using the same strategy, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Matthias Magnussen come in the pits here. Just because you already have a slow lap because of that, you might as well make it a pit stop as well.
Elson has broken away from McAreevy a bit for that third, fourth battle we've seen going on all race long. In fact, even the drivers at the tail end of the top 10 have broken up a bit. Not a whole lot of battles on track right now. Magnussen is sure enough coming into the pits for his stop. Emerton following in behind him.
And a lot of these drivers now, all of the battling for the most part has been settled. I'm sure they all want to pit because we are in that window now with 16 minutes left of the race. But you want to stay out there and enjoy your faster laps when you don't have to worry about someone in front of you or behind you. These are possibly some of the fastest laps on these tires that these guys are going to be able to put up. So it's kind of a compromise there. Depends on how long they want to stay out.
Another driver who made a scheduled stop this lap around was Gary Walbort. He started all the way back in 28th, and now we're looking at his dynamic timing dropping back through the field. But he was all the way up to 15th before this scheduled stop, so be interesting seeing where he finishes today. He's had a good race so far, being one of our biggest movers.
Yeah, and a lot of that just comes from being a clean racer around this track and taking advantage of everyone in front of you that has those single car spins, because that's right in the range of the pack where we saw a lot of those single car spins.
Nom is in. Well, he would have been able to save fuel behind Madden. Now, of course, if he's saved enough, that means he won't have to take as much to make it to the end. But I think these drivers have got to be a little bit cautious about how much fuel they put in their cars. I would make sure I put enough in my car to make it at lap 25, because as we mentioned, at the end of lap 6, they were right at 10 minutes. At the end of lap 12, they were right at 20 minutes. But, you know, if you hit the end of lap 24 with a second or two to spare, you better hope you're having an extra lap of fuel in the tank. We saw that backfire for many of these drivers at Spa.
Naum was losing the lead, or losing the gap to Madden quite a bit. So I wonder if once he started to fall off there, then he figured, okay, I'm not going to save too much fuel now that I'm about half a second behind him. So that might have been the call to come in. But I'm kind of surprised Madden didn't come in with him.
Oh, I guess the nice thing for these guys, with the championship pretty much already being virtually decided, is that Hero Nom might be thinking about doing his own thing. He might not want to communicate his strategy with Madden, and caught him off guard a little bit. More scheduled stops going on. Mark Geehan just made one. Another driver who you won't know it right now because he lost a lot of positions coming in for his stop. And talking about coming in for his stop, Madden just came in. But the point I wanted to make there was Geehan had made up a lot of positions before his scheduled stop. So where is Madden going to come out with relation to Hero Nom? Here comes Nom working his way down through the final corner onto the front straight, which isn't really a straight. Madden still not rolling yet. Nom is going to fly by and pull away. Very long stop for Madden. He's taken tyres, that's why. That costs you a bunch of time.
But if he's fast enough, I mean, 12 minutes left. Well, more like 13 minutes. I don't see him catching up at all in that time period.
It could very well have been a mistake by him to select tyres when he wasn't meant to. I'd like to say I've never made that mistake myself, but that would be a lie. About 2 hours later, I worked out how to create a button to deselect tyres automatically, and Geehan, I put the commentator's curse on him. Or maybe not. He had a spin exit in the final turn, but kept it off the wall. This could have been a lot worse than what was. And right as this was happening, we'll jump up to a replay of Ross Nicholson, who heads into turn 1 pretty much just a couple moments after, and has a big spin in turn 1 that he keeps off the wall. In fact, he almost kept on the track.
Yeah, Elson and McRavery just came into the pits. They came in together, so that might help them in relation to where everyone else is on the track. see Iro Nam go right by them in the pits there.
Very, very quick stop from McAreevy. Not as quick for Elson. And McAreevy has taken enough fuel to get to the end because he's gained a lot of time through that round of stops on Iro Nam. Not enough to threaten him for position, but still reduce the deficit.
Yeah, you only need about 11 more minutes worth of fuel, so some of these guys might be pushing it there just to try to maximize their time in the pits, or to minimize their time in the pits.
Some drivers are still yet to pit. Daniel Sadro leading, Donald Fatera, Edward Doherty, Fred Desai, David Stefanini. In fact... Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm getting incorrect information. Oh! I'm getting incorrect information there. No, it does look like all of those drivers have cycled through their pit stops. So Iro Nam is our race leader. A couple of seconds over Kip Stevens. Wonder if Kip has... Yeah, Stevens still has to pit. I think Stevens still has to pit. I don't see how else he would have got up to second. He was running running around the tail end of a top 10.
He did save a lot of fuel doing that. I wonder if he's... I mean, how much can you stretch it? And Jonathan Madden with Kip Stevens out, tentatively running in 4th behind McRavery. And so Madden wins Stevens pits, assuming he does, is going to cycle up to a podium position.
Yeah, McAreevy and Elson together on track. I wonder how much they're going to battle each other here, though. Boy, Madden's really struggling here, it looks like.
Yeah, Steven Elson right now putting the pressure on, which is someone who we thought might be able to do that from the beginning, or at the very start of the race. He wasn't able to. Him and Madden and Nam pulled away. Might be able to get him here, though, in the last 10 minutes.
Richard Franco just had a bit of a spin over in the first turn, but he gets going again. We'll keep an eye on Kip Stevens, make sure he does have to pit at some point.
Yep, now he comes.
And sure enough, 5 comes into the pits. And he got some camera time. Now where's he going to come out? This shouldn't have to be a long pit stop. I mean, look, less than 8 minutes left of this event.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he hasn't left his pit box already. There he goes, rolling now. Who's behind him? He's still in 7th. Edward Doherty's in 8th, and he's not going to catch him. There's Doherty, the green car in the background there. Doherty's got Fred Desai to worry about behind him.
And Doherty, Desai, those guys there, they were people that were in front of Stevens for most of that battling back when they were like 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. So maybe a nice little strategy call might be playing out here for Kip Stevens to gain a handful of positions.
So let's go ahead and run down the top 10 now that pit stops are complete. It begins with Iro Nam, who once again saved fuel, was able to have a quick stop, but most importantly remembered to deselect tyres for his stop. That's given him a 7-second lead over his closest competitor on track, Jerry McAreevy, running in P2. Jonathan Madden, after that tyre error, is back in 3rd place. Don't think those tyres are going to be enough for him to run down McAreevy on pace there for 2nd and 3rd. Steven Elson holding on in 4th place right now. And Daniel Sadro running in 5th. Nick?
Yeah, Donald Fitterer, our top AM driver right now, S2 driver, running 6th place after starting 7th. You see him there with Kip Stevens behind him after he just took the last pit stop of anyone on track. He's in front of Edward Doherty now. He's another S2 driver. Oh, and it looks like Magnussen might be in trouble.
Magnussen had been running in 11th. He's had the spin. I think he got away with this one. Did he get a bit of help to kick him into the spin? Just pressured into a mistake, it looks like. We'll ride on board the 55 car here and try and find out if we can confirm that there was no contact. And still on replay here, we were talking about Sadro in 5th and Fitterer in 6th. That's not the way around they are anymore, Nick.
No, yeah, that's a good pass there for Fitterer to put some gap in between him and Edward Doherty to take the top position of S2. He's already the top position of S2, but Edward Doherty back in 8th overall right now. So now that's going to help Fitterer move up to 5th here and put an extra car in between them.
And Edward Doherty was where we pretty much left off in our top 10 countdown. As mentioned, 2nd in AM ahead of Fred Desai in 9th place, and then rounding out the top 10 would be David Stefanini, who's still holding on to a top 10 after having significant damage earlier on in the race. And given the fact we saw some drivers pit in with 8 minutes left on the clock, I have a feeling even those drivers who made the early pit stops around the 10-minute mark and all that, Nick, they should be able to make it to the finish.
I agree. I'd imagine they crunched the numbers quickly enough in their head and accurately enough in their head to make it to the finish.
And quick look at the results from the season. This would be Aeronom's 6th win of this championship if he's able to hold on. And Emerton taking 12th place on screen right there from Matteo Dom.
Looks like that battle for 3rd place we were following has pretty much settled itself. Jonathan Madden not really getting pressured anymore from Steven Elson. He is within viewing range of Jonathan Madden, but that's about it. So it looks like Steven Elson going to come home P4 right now. His challenge on Jonathan Madden was short-lived.
One of the best battles in the top 10 still, actually, is between the NAM and the Pro driver. Edward Doherty in 8th place, running 2nd in NAM class. Fred Desai right on his rear bumper. Just a couple of minutes left on the clock now. Desai's can start running out of opportunities to make a pass work. This is week 12 of the iRacing Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors series, the season finale. As we mentioned right at the top of the show, we've seen these drivers put on great races at big tracks, at small tracks. Might not necessarily be a great battle at the front of the field where Aeronom is running away by 8 seconds, but definitely seen some exciting pack racing going on throughout the field. Looks like all the drivers finally have their cars under them. A lot fewer solo spins during the second half of this race. And things are kind of settling down. I'm keeping an eye on Aeronom working his way through the last couple of turns, seeing how much time there'll be left on the clock when he comes across the line. He might be about to start the final lap.
Yeah, I think a lot of these drivers had a pretty stressful first 20 minutes of this race. So the last 10 or so minutes, now down to about 100 seconds on the clock. Just want to have a clean race. Edward Doherty actually just went off into the gravel trap there, but he will stay with it. I don't even think he lost to position, actually.
Franco not as lucky. I think Franco just had a spin which cost him a couple positions. This is the final lap, it looks like. Norm crossed the line with about 1 minute 30 left on the clock. It takes about 1 minute 40 seconds to get a lap complete around here. And I know Bushink have definitely been one of the stories of the season this year, how strong they've all been, but boy, Aeronoma's really capitalised that. And as Dont has a spin, and this one will cost him a position to Murakami there. Catch a replay of this, so still a few last minute spins going on here, Nick, but it looks like so far they've been able to get away with them.
Yeah, that's even the couple of them that I saw, at least off tracks there. The gaps are so big right now between the drivers that they've all been able to get away with them for the most part, it looks like.
Just a couple of turns left to go. Aeronom, he's played the strategy card of races he's needed to. He's played the hammer down and get on with the job card at races where he's needed to. I would definitely say this has been one of the latter ones here today. He's pulled out almost about 10 seconds on his closest competitor, Jerry McAreevy. And coming out of a final turn, Aeronom is going to pick off his 6th win of the season here at Brands Hatch. McAreevy, 10 seconds down the road, will get 2nd. Madden will get 3rd. He'll be quite mad about that result, I'm sure. 8th place still up for grabs, with Doughty just ahead of Desai. 1 turn left to decide this battle.
Desai's looking there. He's going to try to arc it late here, see if he can get a late run on him. I don't think he's going to be able to get there.
Behind them, Stefanini just holds on to 10th place ahead of Shaw. 14 still up for grabs. Dont, who had that spin a little while ago, he's came back on track ahead of Magnussen, also back there due to a spin. Unfortunately, they keep on the track this time. Dont will take 14th, Magnussen 15th. And another battle for 16th, and these two were running 17th and 18th at the completion of laps, so something's happened to Stevie Ray on the final lap. We'll get a replay in just a moment. Stevie Ray have been running 16th. Jacobson at 16th right now. Will cross the line ahead of Bob Kern. Or will he? Yes. Let's see if we can't find out what happened to Stevie Ray. Stevie Ray, a guy who makes this all happen for us, and we appreciate him doing that for us. I wish he would have ended this race with a better note. Wish he would have ended this race with all 4 wheels on the ground. Alright, well that is going to wrap up the race, but not the broadcast. We're going to have a chance to talk to some of our top contenders here on GSRC in just a couple of moments, and we'll give you a full race rundown. Don't go away. Hello and welcome back to Brands Hatch, where we just wrapped up our championship finale, and for the 6th time this season, Aeronom was the one who brought home a checkered flag. He had a few seconds to wait before the rest of his competitors could join him for the post-race Demolition Derby, with Cherry McAreevy down there in 2nd place and Jonathan Madden rounding out the podium. 2 British drivers on the podium. Madden, I'm sure, wishes he was a few inches higher on that podium. Stephen Elson finishes 4th place ahead of our top AM finisher, Donald Fatera. Of course, the fact that we didn't see any AM drivers higher than that, I'm pretty sure that solidifies the fact that Jens Nordstrom will be your AM champion. So behind Fatera, we had Daniel Sadro and Kip Stevens in 6th and 7th. Nice job by Stevens to make that fuel strategy work. Edward Doughty gets 8th place overall, 2nd in AM, and then Fred Desai and David Stefanini round out the top 10.
2 drivers that had fairly quiet races, but pretty successful races are going to be Michael Shaw and Louis Emerton in 11th and 12th. Behind them, Chris Murakami and Matteo Dant with Matthias Magnussen. We saw him involved in a lot of battling and a couple of incidents. He's going to finish in 15th. Jeff Jacobson and Bob Kern are going to follow him. Richard Franco, Edgar Sancinelli, and Gary Wilbot went from 28th to 20th in this race.
And talk about the talent of the field as we look at 21st place, Jeff Cantor here. 21 cars still on the lead lap after 40 minutes of racing at a pretty short circuit that saw a lot of incidents. But at the end of the day, we still had 21 cars bring it home on the lead lap. Well done, Jeff Cantor and all those drivers. Just 1 lap down was Stevie Ray. He had an unfortunate end to his championship. Jason Perry also back there likewise. Betty wish he was up there on the podium right now. Mark Geehan down there, as well as Myro Hazowski, Issa Numi and Wayne Palmer, Ross Nicholson, and then we get to drivers who ran into lots of trouble today. Ian Wilson, Paul Godden, Adam Bradshaw, Keith Walsh, Kane Halliburton, Antonio Reese, C Love, and Jack Hobbs. Alright, let's talk to some of our top contenders from today's event, starting with our race winner, Aero Nom. Aero, this is your 6th win of the season. It also solidifies the championship for you. How do you feel?
Yeah, it was really tough track, so I did some practice today, and I feel great. Sadly, Timmy wasn't there, but I think we had covered him.
How would you rank us among your wins of the season? I mean, you dominated it at the end of the day after Madden took tyres. I'm guessing that was a mistake. Does it feel better than the other ones, knowing you pretty much just sealed your name on this event?
I don't know. Yeah, sadly, didn't click the tires, so yeah, he took tires. But I don't know. It was just safe driving. It's the turn 1 is so scary here, so we took it easy, and John took it easy. So yeah, I'm not sure about the win, but I think even if he didn't take tires, I think I would have been ahead.
So what are your plans for next season? Are you going to come back and try and go back to back?
Back to back, yeah.
Yeah, got to get that 3rd one in as well, yeah. All right, well, congratulations, Hero. Congrats on your championship, your race win, and we look forward to seeing if you can pull off 3 in a row next time.
Yeah, and thanks to John for helping me this season. See you next time.
All right, and that was our race winner, Aero Nom. Just a few seconds down the road from him, Nick, you've caught up with Jerry McAree.
Yes, I have, and Jerry, I'm curious. I don't think you expected to finish 2nd today. You got to steal that victory, or steal that 2nd place finish. How did you avoid all of the first half carnage of this race, and get through there and steal 2nd?
Hi guys. No one's more surprised than me, really. I don't know. I just kept my head down, and after the pit stop, somehow ended up in 2nd. I don't know what happened to Jonathan, but somehow it all worked out. So pretty happy with 2nd, yeah.
All right. Well, did you have anything there did you think you had anything for those guys there at the beginning of the race? We thought maybe a couple of those guys like you would be able to jump up there and make some moves. But you went from 9th to 2nd. That's pretty impressive. Did you expect to do that, or did you have some kind of plan to be aggressive early in this race?
No, just at the start, like I said, I just wanted to stay in the pack and not lose the draft. And everyone seemed to drop off. I don't know what happened to Steve Elson in the pits, but I seemed to jump him in the pits. And then obviously Jason had an issue coming out of turn 1. So, like I say, it was quite a surprise, but
all right. Well, it was a great race to watch. You put on a great show out there. Anyone you want to give a thank you or a shout out to for the last race of the season?
oh, just big thanks to Stevie Day and Paul Gordon from SimStickers, and of course yourselves for making it all happen. Thanks.
All right, that was our second place finisher, Jerry McAreevy. John Madden, we're guessing that was a mistake you made in the pit.
Yeah, that's right. I hit the wrong macro and I put tires on my car, so that was that. But that's fine. I was never actually racing for the lead anyway, so I just blew my second place. But I can live with that.
You weren't racing for the lead, you say? It looked like Aaron Nom pretty much had the championship sealed down. Were you still going to hand him at the victory if it came down to it?
Well, we had planned all along that Demi was going to be there and we were going to have a race and stuff like that. So once he didn't show, we were like, we didn't understand the machinations and all that sort of stuff. So we're like, forget it. Let's just stick to the plan and go by the plan. So that's what we did.
Well, you still ended up there on the podium. Bushfink really have had a strong season this time around, and Nom's already told us he's going to try and go back to back to back next season. I guess gloves will come off next season, though, when we get to the season opener. You're going to try and come back and challenge him for that title?
Yeah, for sure. I won't be leading the field and getting everybody great fuel mileage next season. That's for sure. So you should look for me up at the front.
All right. Well, congrats on another podium finish, John, and thanks for putting on some great races this season. We look forward to another great season next time around.
Yeah, thank you guys very much, and of course, thanks to Stevie Ray. See you guys next season.
It looks like we have a couple more drivers lined up for interview, but first we got Stevie Ray. Nick, I'll let you get in contact here with our league organizer.
Of course, Stevie Ray, and thank you. Without you, we would not be able to have that show. It was a great show all season. What do you want to talk about the race? We saw you go out with a bang there at the end. Literally, I don't think you were anticipating that, I'm guessing.
A bit of a technical issue here. Looks like Stevie Ray's microphone is muted. Let's see if we can get that fixed real quick and hear from Stevie. There we go.
Hey guys. Yeah, I kind of blew it there on the second lap or so on a silly place and had to watch everybody go by, and then there at the end lost my concentration on the last lap of all things. But I just wanted to jump in and thank everybody for making the Weekend Warriors what it is. It's not so much me, it's everybody in the league that makes it so fun and a great league to be a part of.
Yeah, we mentioned before the show today, 36 drivers or something like that showed up today. That's an awesome turnout for a race towards the end of the year. So we hear you're going to the Charlotte Roval for a special event. What do you want to say about that?
Yeah, it's a custom in the Spec Racer community to do a big grid race during week 13. Sunday of week 13, and we named it the V runoffs in honor of the SCCA runoffs. So every week 13, we have this big event, 60 cars, and we get a lot of drivers from a bunch of different series come in and join us for the fun, just all for fun and fun racing. And said we're going to try the brand new Charlotte Roval and break that in this time, something different. I think I counted out this is the 19th running of the big grid SRF race.
Wow, that is an awesome event, and that will be here live next Sunday at 2:45 again. on GSRC. Anyone you want to give a late shout out to here in this end of the season?
Yeah, for Paul Gooden and the Sim Stickers group for coming on board this season and picking up the other half. Our members have been chipping in and making sure that we got half the broadcast done the last few seasons, and Paul and Sim Stickers jumped in this season so we could get all of our races done, and it went over really well, I think, and improved the participation, and just a big thanks to him and everybody else that's chipped in and helped make this possible.
All right. Well, it was an awesome race, awesome season, and can't wait to see more of the action that your league provides in the future.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate what you all do. You're the best at it.
We appreciate Stevie covering the series. One more interview here. It's our AM winner of the race. He finished 5th overall. Donald Fatera, congratulations.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we got a copy.
Sir? Yeah, it was a great race. No mistakes on my part.
Yeah, really, you had control over the AM field from the get-go. I mean, you out-qualified them by several positions. Is this a circuit that you're fond of?
I do like the circuit, but also I spent all week practicing, which I hadn't done for any of the other races because I hadn't been here for very long. I was out west mountain biking, and I spent most of the season building an RV so I could take my mountain bikes out west.
Have you built a place in that RV where you could wire iRacing up?
I'd love to do that. I don't think I have the bandwidth quite yet.
Oh, you have a steering wheel and pedals at the ready, though. That'll work out well for you. So what are your plans for next season? Has this performance, is it going to bump you up to the Pro League, or are you going to come back and race Sam?
Oh, I used to have a 5,000 I rating just doing the SRF, and now I'm back into the Porsche and the IMSA racing, and my R rating is down in the 2000s, which seems league or that group of people. And so I'll probably stay below 3,000 and see if I can do better next year.
All right. Well, we look forward to seeing what you can do and work your way back up there. Congrats on the top 5 and congrats on the AM win.
Thanks, and happy holidays. Cheers.
Happy holidays to Donald as well. And we hope to see you all back this time next week for that big grid race that Stevie was mentioning. I think I remember all the way back to the first one was at Road America. The margin of victory for that race, 0.000 seconds. Don't know how many digits they would have had to back it up down to, but we did determine the winner. That's a nice thing about iRacing, isn't it? All right, we would like to thank Steve Ray for putting on this series, as well as all of the organisers and the competitors who came out this season and put on some great shows. Additional thanks go out to the series sponsors, Sim Stickers and supportforguys.com. Also, we'd like to thank all of the companies that provide us with the software and hardware that we use during our broadcasts, and there you can see them all listed on your screen. We'd also like to thank Eric Etcombe and June Lalonde who provide us with our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Nick, Amjad and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on Twitter at GSR Channel, give us a like on our Facebook page, and follow us on Instagram at GSRC_gram. All of the upcoming races for our other series are listed on screen, so check those out, mark them down on your calendar, and don't miss another second of exciting racing action. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.